Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is I, the one, the only Hidden Flame, and the 16-hour WWE of the last week is finally over with the CWC, and here is what has happened with round 2. So let us do a quick recap of round 2. We have Akira Tozawa, Jack Gallagher, Tajiri, Grand Metalik, Drew Gulak, Zack Sabre Jr., Noam Dar, Ho Lin, Brian Kendrick, Tony Nese, Kota Ibushi, Cedric Alexander, DJ Perkins, Johnny Gargano, Lince Dorado, and Rich Swann. Okay, everybody, let's start with the first match on the docket here. We had Akira Tozawa versus Jack Gallagher. Now, I had Gallagher going over, and with what I said about the submission moves against Tozawa, they did come true, but with some luck, Tozawa won. But Mr. Jackie Boy, Mr. Gallagher, actually made him work for it. Many of the matches were against our matches. Many of the submission attacks were against Tozawa's legs, which was good, and it almost looked like he was going to win. But with Tozawa's deadlift, German suplex, bridge pin combination, Tozawa did go over in this match. So the next match we had Tajiri versus Grand Metalik, and I got this one correct actually. Grand Metalik went over Tajiri. Now, Tajiri is known for taking out some of the faster, more high-flying cruiserweights with his buzzsaw kicks and just his enzigures and much of those signature moves that we all know him for. But Grand Metalik's speed and agility seemed to outsmart Tajiri. I think I saw Tajiri go for the buzzsaw kick 3 times throughout the whole match, but in the end, each kick missed. And Grand Metalik did get the pin over Tajiri, which, nothing against Tajiri, I like him, but as I said, Grand Metalik is going to continue on into the next round, into the quarterfinals. So let's hope it would be a good match against Akira Tozawa. Next up, we have Drew Gulak versus Zack Sabre Jr. Now, I never really did like heels when it comes to cruiserweights. I always figured they were more of the good guys of the wrestling group. But Drew Gulak seemed to be a heel. There was the customary handshake at the beginning of the match. Drew Gulak smacked the hand away. So I didn't really like him for that reason. But as the match went through, this seemed to be more of a ground-based attack for both guys. Zack Sabre Jr. hitting most of his normal signatures when it comes to submissions. Drew Gulak showing that he has some signatures of his own, or submissions of his own. Though there was one particular spot in this which I swore anyone would tap from. But Drew Gulak had a gory special on Mr. Sabre Jr., which made his arms go almost all the way backwards. It looked like he was probably dislocating his arms, or Jack Sabre is more of like a contortionist, was able to hold it off. But yeah, it made me cringe a little, and I was hoping Zack Sabre would tap just because of that, and it made me queasy a little. But when it comes to the victor of this match, it went to Zack Sabre Jr. as he reversed Drew Gulak's finisher, the Dragon Sleeper, into a modified roll-up bridge move to score the win. Next up is Noam Dar versus Ho Lin, and I was surprised to see that Noam Dar went over Ho Lin, since Mr. Lun himself has his own a wrestling organization in China that Noam Dar was a member of the WCPW. But seeing this submission versus like agile kicker, Noam Dar hit a that cross leg bar, the Champagne Supernova or whatever the heck he calls it, uh, and made Ho Lin tap. It was unique. I was not expecting that. And from what I heard from King Ross over on WCPW, Noam Dar has been released from them because he officially has a WWE contract and will be on Raw when the Cruiserweights join Monday Night Raw. So, yay, Noam Dar. Good luck against Zack Sabre Jr. You're going to need it. Now, I was surprised at the outcome of the Brian Kendrick versus Tony Nese matchup. I thought Brian Kendrick would actually have a clean sweep on this one, but it seems he had to really dig deep as Tony Nese just outpowered Brian Kendrick. Though with Brian Kendrick's high-flying abilities and dirty tactics, it was Tony Nese and his power moves, and he even went to the air a couple of times, which really surprised me. But it was a missed 450 splash that Brian Kendrick had turned into a bully choke to get the former not the former just the big man to tap out, which I wasn't expecting Tony Nese to be someone to tap, but there you have it. Okay, now it comes to what I believe is so far the match of the tournament. In round one, we had Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa, which stole the tournament. But in round two, it comes to Kota Ibushi versus Cedric Alexander. Now, this match, I have to say, if Dave Meltzer doesn't give it a 5-star, he's a fucking idiot. Just because this match was perfect, in my personal opinion. We had lots of action. We had lots of false finishes. We even had like a sort of like a romance thing going on, but that's at the end of this little speech. So they went 15 minutes. It took up most of the time limit they were given. Now, I'll just give it right now. Kota Ibushi won, as I figured he would. But the match itself was incredible. I am not going to spoil it for you because I want you guys to go watch it and see for yourself. But I really hope that the fans get their wish, because at the very end of the match, as Cedric was leaving the ringside, the fans were chanting, "Please sign Cedric, please sign Cedric." And Triple H came out, shook Cedric's hand, gave the crowd a thumbs up, and took him in the back. So I really hope Triple H gives him a contract, because boy, does that guy deserve it. And just to speak about the match a little, but try not to spoil it, there was so many big spots and big moves done in this match, but Kota Ibushi just would not give. No matter what Cedric hit, no matter what move, high flying Hurricanrana, super kicks, enziguris, buzzsaws, whatever he threw at Ibushi, he just would not give. So go find this match, go watch it, you'll enjoy every minute of it. Next up, we have TJ Perkins versus Johnny Gargano. And this particular match, I actually failed to predict this correctly, but mainly because of the circumstances. Johnny Gargano got injured during NXT Brooklyn 2, or Return to Brooklyn, and TJ Perkins used that to his advantage. Just having TJ Perkins keep attacking Gargano's knee just seemed to be just too painful to watch, really. Gargano hit his knee after I want to say it was a sunset flip on the outside, where his knee or his leg hit the bell table. I think that's what they're calling it, with Perkins going after the knee bar. And just as the match went on, Gargano just kept favoring the knee so much, it eventually forced him to tap out. So if Gargano didn't have the knee injury, I'm sure he would have beat Perkins. But Perkins just picked that knee clean. But Gargano kept fighting. As I mentioned before, he is a true fighter. And I hope he can win some gold in NXT. But congratulations, Perkins. Now, the final match in the card here is Lince Dorado versus Rich Swann. And I got this one correct by saying Rich Swann would advance. Now, two things. I'm not going to say much about this match because I wasn't really paying attention to it, because it wasn't really that exciting of a match. But seeing the Phoenix Splash is always beautiful. I wish Seth Rollins would bring it back and do it instead of the stupid pedigree. But I have a whole rant on that one. But when it comes to just the match, the biggest spot I saw was a reverse Hurricanrana, or where it was like they did the Hurricanrana backwards. And I thought Lince would actually win with that, but no, it was Rich Swann hitting the Phoenix Splash for the win. And there was, for some reason, a lot of enziguris in this match. And you got to be careful with those kicks to the back of the head, because one wrong move and that could snap someone's neck. But there wasn't really much exciting about this match. Not many main explosive moves. There was one or two. There was a suicide dive to the outside and the Phoenix Splash, but it was mainly just your normal slugfest ground game without the submission. So it was pretty boring, but Rich Swann got through. Now, before I go into my predictions of how the rest of this tournament is going to go, the final 6 matches, I want to just announce that WWE is signing a bunch of these guys. We learned right after the first round that Kota Ibushi and Gran Metalik have signed. And we know that Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Rich Swann are all in those 3 are in NXT. We saw Kota Ibushi on NXT, so we know he's in there. I learned from WCPW that Noam Dar has joined WWE, and we have also learned that Zack Sabre Jr., Cedric Alexander, Lince Dorado, Akira Tozawa, and Jack Gallagher are all being targeted for contracts. So let us hope that all of these guys join in, because I would really like to see Jack Gallagher join or feud against the Vaudevillains, because he has the look of it, and I'm sure they would make a really good faction. Hopefully they could do bring the Vaudevillains back up to notoriety where they are welcome on the SmackDown roster. But only time will tell when it comes to that type of signings. So, on to my predictions. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get this one out of the way because it's the only match that has not changed in my original predictions, and that's Brian Kendrick versus Kota Ibushi. And as I said before, I think Kota Ibushi is going to beat Brian Kendrick and advance to the semifinals. So I'm not going to repeat myself, but I'm going with Kota above Brian. Okay, let's start off with the first changed match. I wanted Jack Gallagher to go up against Grand Metalik, but we're going to have two high flyers with Grand Metalik and Akira Tozawa. And personally, I think this is going to be the match of round 3. I see a lot of high flying, a lot of daredevil attacks, lots of suicide dives, hurricanranas, top. It's mainly going to be completely aerial, if I've been watching it correctly. And so as it comes to these two guys, I'm actually thinking that Akira Tozawa is going to go over Grand Metalik. So just because Tozawa's a little bit faster and the way he does certain things, like he screams, and I just don't like that. But Metalik is a little bit more tactical, and his moves are usually on point. But just the way Tozawa moves in the ring and his use of German suplexes, which I'm pretty sure Brock Lesnar could just destroy this whole tournament because all of them is using Germans and verticals and belly to belly, and that's Lesnar's thing. But good thing he's nowhere near this. But again, I think Tozawa's going to go over Grand Metalik, so I'm going to throw that out there. Next up, we're going to have Zack Sabre Jr. versus Noam Dar, and I can see it now. This is going to be a very submission-based match with someone going to be tapping out. But oh God, this one's just going to be very tough to predict. But I see Noam Dar beating Zack Sabre Jr. just because that cross leg bar or knee bar is just really painful to watch. And with someone who has knee issues, it makes my knees hurt. But Zack Sabre also has a lot of submission base. He's more of a mat style, like the Chris Benoit and the William Regals and the Kurt Angles, who most of his repertoire is submissions. But Noam Dar can hit that knee bar just out of nowhere and start making you tap. So I'm going to go with Noam Dar on this one. Okay, the final match is going to be against TJ Perkins and Rich Swann. And again, this is just this whole bracket. Now that Johnny Gargano is out, just does not interest me. But I actually see that TJ Perkins is going to go over Rich Swann because Swann is already in the WWE. He already has his own things going on with NXT once he returns. Though Perkins just seems to be a little bit more aggressive, and his, again, mat-based submissions would actually just be the downfall of Rich Swann. So I see Perkins going over. Now, it's really hard to predict as to who's going to go into the finals. But it's going to be Akira Tozawa, Noam Dar, TJ Perkins, or Kota Ibushi. I'm still going to stick with my original idea that Kota Ibushi is going to be in the finals. And when it comes to Akira Tozawa versus Noam Dar, I just don't really know. I want Noam Dar to win, but it could go to Akira Tozawa. But honestly, I'm actually going to go with my gut and say that Noam Dar is going to go into the finals against Kota Ibushi. Now, in about 2 weeks, we're going to have a special 3-hour episode of the 2-hour episode of the CWC. It's going to be live. I think it's going to be the quarterfinals, the semifinals, Tozawa and Noam Dar and Ibushi and Perkins, and then for the main event, it's going to be Noam Dar versus Kota Ibushi, in my personal opinion. Now, this is going to be interesting because you got someone who does a lot of kicks and a person whose main finisher is a knee bar, who is going to try his best to prevent those kicks. Now, this is actually going to be a really tough decision for me because I like both of these guys. I think if they're both inducted into the WWE as full-time stars, I think they will both go to win the Cruiserweight title when it shows up. But this is where it's going to get interesting. And this is where everybody's going to say I'm wrong or I'm right. But we'll see. Now, I honestly think Kota Ibushi is going to fight Noam Dar. See what I'm doing? I'm kind of evading my choice here. Deep down, I want to say Noam Dar is going to win, just because his main issue, or his form of attack, is against the legs, and that's what Kota Ibushi is known for, is all of his kicks and power moves and things like that. So honestly, unlike the last video where I say Ibushi's going to win, I actually think Noam Dar is going to take it. So I will say Noam Dar wins, and we will leave it at that. So I want to thank you all guys for watching. Again, these are just my predictions. We won't know until next week, because I'm sure we're going to have 2 matches, unless they do all 4 matches next week. Because they didn't really say next week on CWC about who's going to go where. So I will do some research, and I'll put in the description of when the next matches are going to be. But they were saying it's like September 14th is when the Cruiserweight division is going to like 13th or 14th is when it's going to show up on Raw, and that's like 2 weeks from now. So maybe they're going to have all 4 of the quarterfinals next week, and then have the big 2 hours live event the week after that, and then they're going to show up on Raw. So I'll have all that information in the description below. Please make sure you like, subscribe, share. If you don't like it, please tell me why. If you have other predictions, please put it in the comments below. And I will see you guys at the end of round 3.